Hey guys, this is June with EOS Ignite back here for another episode of our governance webcast, and just had about a half an hour today, so I wanted to really quickly go over the Constitution proposals. There has been a couple that were proposed in the last month or so, and I just wanted to go over really quickly the just a high level overview and give you my thoughts. And if anyone out there has any questions here on this webcast, just feel free to ask away. But I just wanted to run through this quickly. I have about a half hour today, and hopefully we'll be able to cover them just briefly at a high level. So let's get started. So we have the two main referendum proposals that I've come across: the New York EOS user agreement. So we'll go through that, and then also go through the most recent proposal, which is the it's called the EOS Community Constitution, and there were people around the world helping with this. EOS Amsterdam and communities in Korea, Russia, China, and elsewhere. So I was curious to see kind of what they settled on. Hey, how's it going, Ryan? EOS 42. I see him here. I think he's the only one here so far, but good to see you here. So yeah, we'll just go through it. I don't know, Ryan, if you've taken a look at it, but I'm going to go straight to the EOS user agreement from EOS New York, and let me share my screen here. And if you can see it, this is the final one, posted February 28th, which is actually today. I don't know if they just updated it. I did see it on the Telegram channel, an updated version. Briefly went over it, but I think this might be the even a more updated version. So let's go through this real quick. There's a Chinese and Korean translation, and the proposal is official right here, the on-chain referendum proposal. I'll click the link later, and I'll just read the forward. It was written by EOS New York for the benefit of the community, and as a result of participation in the community-driven development of EOS governance over the past year. Each person who participated is credited in helping write this document. The word Constitution can be perceived differently across cultures and languages, so we shifted the title to EOS User Agreement. It's an open source template. They encourage people to take this document, change it, amend it, propose it, and mold it to see how they feel is best for them. Design principles is that these items are enforceable. So nothing's written here that's not enforceable, and it's not a kind of a signal, or it's has to be based on code, I assume. Establishes a framework of governing documents, so the amendment of the EOS governance can be agile. So there's a framework for amendment. Defines roles and responsibilities for each various user types. Okay. And I think I went through this. Some of it is the same as the original proposal a few months back, and I think some of the things have been updated and things have been shortened. So some definitions: EOS user agreement. It's this document. The chain ID identifies what we call the mainnet chain. So there's this ID here. User: any person or organization, persons who maintain direct or indirect ownership of an EOS account. Or EOS-based property connected to an EOS account. There might be some nuances there, but I'll just kind of skip over that. Ownership: direct access to the EOS account through permission checks. So, just keys. Block producer, users who have called Regproducer. EOS prods, network funds, governing documents, on-chain, any transaction smart contract recording located within a block. So EOS-based property, call, it's an action. So they define a lot of things. I won't go through it too much now. Authorizations, permissions, recording contracts. So let's take a look at this. So we have Article 1, user acknowledgement of risks. Article 2, special user types. Article 3, consent of the EUA. Article 4, governing documents. Article 5, native unit of value. Article 6, maintaining the EOS blockchain. 7, network funds. 8, freedom of account creation. 9, no fiduciary. 10, user security. And 11, EOS prods limited liability. Okay. And a Regproducer agreement, very short one at that. I think the Regproducer used to be a lot longer than that. So okay, so Justin says, read Article 3 for us. It's important to understand part of the purpose of this proposal. So okay, yeah, I was going through quickly, just just the high level table of contents and just high level headings, and yeah, it is hard to understand just by going over that, but hopefully it gives us a reference point. But let's get to Article 3 and read it out. But let's go through it. It's not that long, but there's 11 articles. They're very short, which is, I think, good. So let's go through that, and hopefully I can just run quickly over this thing here. So user acknowledgement of risks. So that's Article 1. If user loses access to the EOS account, has not taken appropriate measures to secure access to their EOS accounts by other means, your account will be inaccessible. So this addresses loss of your private key or your password. So user acknowledges the risks, usage, and intricacies of cryptographic tokens and blockchain-based software. And so the users, buyer is a caveat emptor, but users beware. You're taking that responsibility, and it's your sole risk. So that's pretty much Article 1. Okay. Article 2, special user types. Those who call on Regproducer agree to and are bound by this recording contract. Okay, that's pretty simple. We have the block producer contract. Number 3, consent of the user agreement. The nature of the EOS user agreement is such that it serves as a description of the current EOS mainnet government functions that are in place. These functions enforced by code do not require the consent of users, as these functions are inherent and systemic to the EOS mainnet itself. So it's essentially saying that there's not really consent. It's just really code. So maybe Justin, since this is your kind of interest, you had an interest in Article 3. It is kind of it's kind of an interesting clause or article. So you're saying, yeah, you're consenting that your consent is unnecessary, as you say, and but that's really the idea that, hey, everything's enforced by code, everything has to be enforceable. So the reality is that maybe we can have our opinions about what's right or wrong, but it has to be in the code. So that's essentially you're consenting to that. I think there is a room for maybe a debate around or discussion around that. If you are a user and you're a voter, you do probably want to have a little bit more influence over what happens on the system. So how do you get to a point of getting that implemented? And there's different ways to do it. There may be a way where, you just rely on block producers. There may be potential for other written agreements that also specify what's exactly put in the code. And so I think that's going to be an interesting open question. But this is one approach, I think. Insurance and dispute resolution can be opt-in, and yeah, there could be other layers on top that are used as well. So that's pretty interesting. So governing documents, if there's no questions, I'm kind of trying to run through this pretty quickly. Governing documents, any modifications can be made using EOS.prod. So the block producers can come together and make changes to this in the governing documents. Okay, so there is a process. It is admonished that a statement be crafted and issued through EOS prods via EOS.io.form referendum contract describing such a modification in advance. Well, I think, let me look at the word admonished. Admonished is like warning, I thought, right? So that it is, it's a warn or reprimand. So it is. Okay, so it is. Okay, so I guess they're saying, well, maybe the term, the word can be, instead of using admonished, it should be something like it is advisable or something like that, that a statement be crafted and issued through EOS.io.prods via a referendum contract proposed. So I think they're just saying that it is advised to do that. Admonished more so means, kind of more of a penalty type warning. I think that it has that kind of meaning or connotation. So maybe the wording could be updated, but essentially EOS.io.prods is what the block producers come together to use as a multi-sig to change things in the blockchain. And so that's kind of how Article 4 explains it, that they are going to be the ones that make modifications, and that they will take signals from the referendum contracts. So that's Article 4. Native unit of value, it's probably self-explanatory. EOS token is created by this EOS.io token contract, and that's the unit of value. Article 6, maintaining the EOS blockchain. The EOS.io.prods will maintain the active blockchain code base, which includes and is not limited to the implementation of all modification, of all features, optimization, and upgrades, presence, and features. It does delegate this responsibility, gives the block producers a lot more responsibility about what goes into the code base, updates, upgrades, future and present. And so Article 6 at least defines that responsibility to the block producers. Article 7, network funds. It is admonished that any altering of the state of any tokens contained within network fund accounts are altering any pre-existing code that directly or indirectly governs the allocation, fulfillment, or distribution of any network funds be preceded by a statement crafted and issued by EOS.io.prods to the EOS.io.form referendum system contract describing the effect in advance. So, we have these a large amount of EOS in the ecosystem right now via inflation. There's tens of millions of dollars worth of EOS, and it's growing every day. And so this addresses that, where, if the block producers now have control over, what happens to that fund, that's a lot of responsibility, and that could be dangerous. So they're saying, okay, well, look to the referendum system for guidance on what to do, don't do anything until there's some sort of referendum that states clearly what's going on with it. So any allocation, distribution of it should go through some sort of referendum system, but it doesn't identify, what amount of support any referendum needs. This also includes altering any pre-existing code, because that really changes the immutability of the system, right? Because block producers, the way it's designed, can actually change code if they have the majority, or the block producers come to a majority consensus about anything. Any questions so far? Okay, so Article 7 and now 8, freedom of account creation. Any user or future user is able to create an EOS account without the permission of any user. EOS.io.prods may never affect an EOS user account without valid permissions, which have been shared with EOS.io.prods by an EOS account. So, if anyone wants to create an account, the block producers aren't going to do anything to prevent that. And they won't do anything to your account unless you share your permissions with the block producers. They can also charge a fee if you or if you're kind of relinquishing some responsibility to them to do something with your account. So that's Article 8. Article 9, no fiduciary. No, okay, so there's no fiduciary. It's not a typical business where they have some sort of responsibility. Shareholders, oftentimes they delegate their duties to a board of directors, and then there's some fiduciary responsibility at that point for board of directors to represent this entire group and help the direction of the company. But they can't go embezzle funds or just self deal and things like that. So there's usually in organizations there's a responsibility there, but in this system they're saying, well, the EOS doesn't have anything. There's no authority. No one takes any responsibility. They can't borrow against this blockchain. They can't make a contract on behalf of EOS. And things like that. So this blockchain has no owners, managers, or fiduciaries. So that's Article 9. Article 10, user security. All items pertaining to personal account security, including but not limited to safekeeping of private keys, is solely responsible to the user to secure. Similar to, I think, Article 1 that says, hey, if you lose your EOS account or you lose access, you're out of luck. And it's the same thing with this. So, private keys. So, I guess there's two levels. You have an account, you have keys associated with the account. If you lose access to your account, usually it means you lost your keys. So Article 1 and Article 10 are pretty, it's saying the same thing. If you lose your private keys or you lose access to your account, sorry, we can't help you. There's no ECAF, there's no arbitration or anything that unless you have another maybe contract on top of it with custodians or arbitration bodies that you've delegated kind of your your account to, maybe through a multi-sig or something like that. Otherwise, you're responsible. So. Article 11, that's the last one. User acknowledges that and agrees to the fullest extent permitted by any applicable law that, the block producers aren't liable is what I'm guessing here. So let's see. All damages or injury whatsoever caused or related to risks of our inability to use the EOS token or the EOS blockchain under any cause of action whatsoever of any kind in any jurisdiction, including without limitation actions for breach of warranty, breach of contract, or tort, that BPs nor the individual permissions that operate it. So the collective group of block producers or individual block producers shall not be liable for indirect, incidental, special, exemplary, or consequential damages, including for loss of profits, goodwill, or data. So, hey, if you lose data, you lose money, anything, we're not responsible as block producers or individual block producers. So that's pretty much it. Reg producer agreement, it's a very simple agreement. That's what, one of the articles, defines as the special user type, where they're bound to a simple contract. It says the intent of the reg producer action is to register an account as a BP candidate. So it says we're registering as a candidate, and I, producer, agree that I may be removed by 15 of 21 block producers for any reason deemed appropriate at any time. So the 15, once you have a majority, they can remove block producers that for whatever reason. So if you're majority, you can actually, you have extra power. I, producer, acknowledge and agree that my producer account is exempt from Article 10 of the EUA and submit that 15 of 21 block producers may affect my account if deemed necessary. So I guess Article 10 is about user security, it seems. And so it says, okay, well, block producers can, I guess, take away anything of mine. So I'm not sure if they have the right article. Maybe it's exempt from Article 10. So maybe they mean Article, what is the other one? Article 8 or 7, maybe. That, they can alter the code that enables them to change things in the software. And that includes, or no, actually not, where's the other one? Freedom of account creation. So any current or future user is able to create an EOS account without the permission of others. The EOS prods may never affect an EOS user account, but you're affecting the user account by restricting their ability to be a block producer. So anyways, I'm not sure if this needs to be clarified or what, but it just says that block producers may affect my account. Okay, so FYI, this is the referendum proposal, blocks.io question. Okay, so should EOS adopt the EOS user agreement in place of the Constitution? This is okay. So let me go. So we went through this, and let's go through. And Justin posted the referendum link. So let's take a look at it real quick. I'm running a little bit out of time here. let's see here. All right. So should EOS adopt the EOS user agreement in place of the interim constitution? That's the question. That's the proposal. Okay. So this is it. And Justin said that the EOS IO prods reg producer recording contract is not stated in the referendum, so that's missing. That's the only difference. But other than that, it's what we discussed. And the referendum is being voted on, and it seems to be getting a little bit of traction here. And there's very little no. There's nobody kind of against this, which is, it does seem like a very good proposal, but it's only about 1.3% of the 15%. However rigid we are with the threshold, that 14 million votes seems to be very significant so far, though. So and it's been out for 21 days. So we'll in future episodes we'll keep following this and seeing how this is. But there seems to be a lot of support for this. There's not a lot of resistance. It is very clean. I mean, we went through it. It's very simple, and it covers a lot of things. And so for something that is very close to version 2 that Block 1 proposed, I think this is a good version of that. So I like it overall as a proposal here. So that's pretty much it. So so Ryan says you'll need a week for the community consultation if you're running out of time. So yeah. And then Ryan also had from EOS 42, shout out to them. They actually have a Medium article that talks about rewriting the reg producer, protecting EOS together. I will link to that in this video. And so, all right. So that sounds good. So, all right. So ran through that real quick. Now let's move on to the next one. And, we're going to continue to do updates, see what the progress is. As you can see, this has been out for 3 weeks. It has 14.2 million in EOS votes supporting it and about 63,000 not supporting it. And the question is, you want the EUA or the result, if rejected, is the interim constitution remains. I have an issue with that. And I think the other proposal is the same, where, interim constitution remains. That's probably unnecessary to say that. You could just say, if it's rejected, then you have another constitution. That's probably more appropriate. Anyways, so that's, I'll leave it at that. So let's go to the next one. So let me go to, let's go to the community constitution here. And there is a Medium article, and I will share that here real quick. And I'm not going to have time. I'm just going to, again, will be a higher level overview, and I will probably in the next week, we'll kind of dig in a little bit deeper. This is newer, but this was written February 17th. So there is a, this is an article. Sorry about that. So why vote for the community constitution? So I'll put this link in there. This was written by Brian Lee, February 17th. Gives a kind of a quick why vote for this. So let's read this here real quick. Code alone is unable to provide stability and security. Code can be changed easily without rules. The EOS core code may be altered to dismiss voting altogether. That's a good point. Furthermore, voting could become obsolete. So if votes end up in the hands of the few, monopolies will rise, structures will be hidden to mislead voters, etc. In all successful societies, freedom is safeguarded by rules. This is what the community constitution accomplishes, setting the foundational rules for an effective cooperative mechanism for a free and informed vote from token holders. This practice ensures a level playing field and additionally provides a strong and professional dispute resolution system to ensure all parties play by the rules. Okay, so this will go through more of the points. It's a very short article, but I will post to this. But let's dig in. I want to dig in a little bit more and see the actual constitution here. Version 1 with more words. Okay. So Justin has to go, but let's go discuss the community constitution here real quick. So what's the other link that I have? It's the details. I thought I had the details here. Oh, no, okay. Background details here. Okay, so let's just go straight to the referendum proposal and just share that screen. I don't have a Medium article like EOS New York had. I think that was it. Maybe I should have gone through it, but let's just go share this one, which is the EOS Community Constitution in place of the interim constitution. So they use the same proposal type where it's either this EOS Community Constitution or the interim constitution. The other proposal did the same thing. I do think that the no votes should just be more open on both of these proposals. But let's just see. Let's go introduction. It's the Chinese, Korean, European, North American EOS community are some of those in the community. And what I read was actually the introduction. That was in the Medium article, which is well written. So that was that. And so let's kind of go through this and see. Let's go through just all the high level points, and then go to see what's going on here. So Article 1, applicability, definitions, and transfers. So who does it apply to? How are the terms defined in this Constitution? Transfers. The transfers says, I'm not exactly sure what the transfers are, but can you transfer these rights, I guess? So there is a applicability kind of footnote. But anyways, let's get back to the transfer. So essentially, applicability and definitions is what is an EOS account? What does it mean to hold an account? And it goes through how it's defined. Let me see. This Constitution applies to EOS and to all actions regarding EOS, and it has a chain ID. And so it just lists some terms. So we won't go one by one, but that's what Article 1 does. Article 2, it's a multi-party contract. This Constitution is a multi-party contract. It can't be terminated. I think the idea of a multi-party contract is that, we are contracting with everybody else, and everybody else is contracting with us and everybody besides them. And a party also hopefully may not have been defined, but is assuming that could be either just EOS accounts or whoever's associated. They do have they use the word party. So anyways, definitions might be called for, but anyway, the overall idea is that we have a multi-party contract. Freedom, all parties are free to use EOS as long as they don't infringe on other parties and they comply with this Constitution. Ownership, the blockchain belongs to no one. Tokens have owners. No one will control over 10%. So they have some kind of terms around ownership. Inflation. Article 5, block producers cannot set the inflation to be paid to them at a higher than 1% rate without a referendum light. So they just have restrictions on inflation. But they don't say anything else about worker proposals or any additional inflation. Article 6, votes. Account holders of EOS shall have 1 vote per EOS token. 1 vote can select up to 30 BPs. So it talks about the whole voting mechanics and any terms related to voting. I'm just reading through this quickly. You could use proxies if you want. no one shall neither directly nor indirectly control the casting of more than 1% of all votes. So that seems different. So you can't, as a proxy, it does not seem that you could control more than 1% of votes. We'll have to get back to that. I'm not sure about the details there, but anything Article 6 deals with voting. Let me go. Article 7, block producers, describes the block producer's responsibility. This is probably a big part of it. A block producer is or becomes aware of a clear infringement of the intent of code or the rights of a party or third party to the threat thereof, while there is no alternative remedy to halt or prevent such infringement. If such an event, the block producer decides to take action against such block producer shall forthwith notify the other active block producers and the default ADR provider. So the block producer shall also notify the victim. So, this is essentially the idea that block producers now, can be become aware of something going wrong with the system, whether there's a theft or some sort of dispute. Then they have to notify other block producers and also the ADR provider, which is similar to ECAF, is essentially my thought on that so far. So, but okay. So anyway, so it says what the block producers can do. It also allows them to change the core code within the limits of the Constitution. And so on and so forth. So block producers, this is Article 7. Liability of developers, 8, it says liabilities are developers don't have liability. Article 9, should the community decide so. There's a worker proposal fund, that's Article 9. 10, intellectual property, all code paid for by the CDF, it should be open and free to use. So this is open source. That's Article 10. Regarding copyright and other intellectual property, the party that publishes code or other material implicitly grants by doing so that all parties have non-exclusive rights to use a code or material on EOS. So if you put something on EOS, it's pretty much open source at that point. Article 11, damages, liabilities, and penalties. Party that is in default under this Constitution shall be liable for damages and caused by such a default. So it's okay. There's the penalties. The ADR neutral may award penalties to any defaulting party. So let's say block producers can be penalized. They can be removed from a block producer position if the ADR, the arbitrator decides so. But there's all these other terms about damages, liabilities to kind of allow those that have any kind of dispute or claim to be compensated for that. So that's Article 11. Article 12 is, really the dispute resolution. This is the idea, this is ECAF and all, this is the version of ECAF. It may be called something different, but essentially it is a people that are part of this ADR provider. It could be, this organization that, outsources to other kind of companies or something similar to ECAF or not similar to ECAF, but it is organization. It could be an outside arbitration company, like I think one thing was mentioned before. I think it's the ICC. Anyway, so this explains the whole dispute resolution process. And and it's pretty long. So it talks about the rewards, just not the rewards, but awarding, just fees, independence. I'm just scanning through things here. Emergency measures, throwing out words that I'm reading here. And that's pretty much it. That's all listed here. So, I mean, so essentially there's going to be some dispute resolution, Article 12. We'll go dig in deep next time. Community referenda, Article 13. This is, about, what what the threshold is to get to identify what indicates support. I think before it was 15% of the vote is required to pass as a referendum, but here it says 10%. So you need less votes for things to be accepted in this Constitution. So that's Article 13. Otherwise, it's it's similar to the one we had before. There's something called the referendum light. Further rules and proposal, Article 14. Okay, so community may provide further rules, protocols, code, and subsidiary agreements, such as the block producers agreement through the referendum light. Said rules, protocols, code, and subsidiary agreements must be fully in accordance with its Constitution. So this reminds me of, there's, statutes that always in countries have to be, are kind of subsidiary to kind of the Constitution and laws that have kind of more authority. So in the U.S., there's the U.S. Constitution, and then all the statutes that are created by governments, whether it's the state or the federal government, has to comply with that. But they can issue further rules. It's statutes, but it could be challenged, and that's what happens, because lawmakers like making laws, and they'll make any law that they feel they have the right to, and ultimately the Constitution is what restricts those other laws. So 14 seems to be more expensive. It seems to indicate that it's kind of a similar structure where you could have further rules and protocols underneath this Constitution, but it does have to be consistent with the Constitution. Article 15, applicable law. This Constitution supersedes all national laws as far as possible, which is good. At least it doesn't say that any other national laws could somehow restrict this Constitution. And then there's some other clauses in this article. Transition article. This Constitution replaces the interim Constitution as the date as being elected by the community unless the referendum system details otherwise. So anyway, so this talks about a transition from the interim Constitution to this one. Talks about, so this was interesting. This is what I saw. I think I briefly looked at this before I really scanned it. It was like a couple of minutes. I didn't have time, but there's something called the oath protocol, which I thought was interesting. It says the default ADR provider shall be the oath protocol. And if you go to the website, it's kind of cool. There's people that, let me go through it real quick. I probably have 5 minutes and then I gotta jump off here. So essentially the oath protocol, it seems as you're looking at it. And if I go to the website, if I go to the team, there's people on the oath team that are creating a infrastructure for dispute resolution. So so this is it. There's some sort of juror registration. We enter the era of community governance by giving back power to the users to have a voice in conflict resolution, join our initiative, sign up to be an oath juror. So this is kind of a more decentralized model I like this where it says it's modeled on the common law jury system and utilizes blockchain cryptographic algorithms, random algorithms associated with categories and attributes, jury's credit level, and case tracking technology. So this is pretty cool. This is a technological solution, I think, at least a more advanced solution than, the old arbitration companies that we have, and probably a little bit more, has more potential than what I was seeing with ECAF. So this is interesting. And the advisors, I did see some Dafeng from EOS Asia and other people as part of this team. So this does seem like an interesting organization that looks more promising than ECAF. So that's pretty much it. So let's go back to that's it. We're done. So how's the voting going? They got 1.2 million voting, 400,000 that says no, and 780,000 that say, or 424,000 that says yes, and 779,000 that says no so far. It's only been around for a couple days, so we'll see how that happens. But right now, I think those that are supporting the New York user agreement is ahead at this point. So it's about, what is the percentage here now? So far, let's say 779 divided by 1204, about 65% no, and 35% yes. So or 65 and 36 yes. So anyways, that's pretty much it. Let's check it out. Let's keep a track on these proposals. Yeah, it doesn't seem like so far there's a whole lot of activity with voting in general, but these are the two main constitutions that are being proposed, and I think it will. Yeah, we'll see how it goes in the weeks weeks as weeks go by. So I really appreciate it, guys. I just again, I went over a little bit and really appreciate it. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to go high level overview on things and try to, sorry if it was fast, but tried to hit on kind of some relevant points here. Thanks, guys. I gotta take off. Really appreciate it. And the video will be out here. All the links to the referendum proposals will be out here. We'll try to dig in deeper a little bit later as weeks go by and people have questions. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care.